Grace and peace. Good evening. God bless everybody. We're trying to get started here. Welcome to Grown Men Are Talking podcast. We are live and in person. I'm trusting that everyone is doing well tonight. Please do me a big favor. Do us a big favor. Do yourselves a big favor and hit that like, hit that share. Let somebody know we are on tonight. I know we're a little late. Some of the brothers having some technical difficulties, but nevertheless, we are going to be here tonight. Still waiting for a few of the brethren to log on, but we're praying that they will find their way. Not 100% sure if they're having some technical difficulties. However, you know how the old saying is, we got to keep it moving, and we're going to do just that. So just to give you some backdrop, just trying to please share, please like. It looks like our numbers are down. I know we sent the memo out today. Some people are sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. Continue to share. Hit that like button. Get some people on. I don't know if there's a disconnect, if anything's frozen anywhere. I'm not sure if that's the case. Looks like we are. Yeah, we're live. I mean, that's for sure. So I want to make sure we are. All right, let's just waiting for a few of the people to get on here. Okay, let's hit that like button. I see. All right, so yeah, it looks like the numbers are starting to go up a little bit. So listen, saints, please hit that share, brothers, sisters, hit that share, hit that like, get your brother in, get your son in, get your husband in, your father in, get them in. We are going to have a real heart-to-heart conversation. Again, we're missing 3 of our brothers tonight, and we're going to send an APB out for them. We're going to have to get them. You're gonna get arrested, lock them up, bring them on in, dead or alive. They gotta come on in. But nevertheless, we're gonna start with what we have and try to get moving. So tonight, I'm gonna bring our 2 brothers who are in, and as the other gentlemen come in, we're going to bring them on stage. Tonight we have Pastor David Anderson with us, and we also have Apostle Terry Holmes with us. So please hit that share, hit that like button as we are preparing to get on tonight. So we've been talking about fatherlessness, and that's kind of how we started. And for this discussion tonight, we're going to deal with how to resolve challenges in the fatherhood. So I'm going to have our brothers just to tell you who they are real quick, give you where they're from, and then we'll go from there. Pastor Anderson, you want to start with us, sir?
Hey, how's everybody doing? My name is Pastor Dave Anderson, originally from Greenburgh, New York, live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am the senior pastor of Temple of New Beginning Ministries, and y'all know who I am. Those who are watching and listening, I've been around for a long time, been on the ins and been on the outs. So, I thank God for you today. If you're on with us, and I hope you get something out of it. Amen.
Thank you, brother. Pastor Holmes, mm-hmm. Apostle, you're muted. You're muted.
What'd you ask us? I'm sorry, man. I'm just getting off work, so I haven't landed the plane yet.
Just tell us, your name and your church and where you're from, and we're going to try to get started. Waiting for other brothers to get on.
All right, as you guys see my name on the screen, it's Terry Lee Holmes. I am the senior pastor at Triumph Church in Waterbury, Connecticut. I've been pastoring for 18-ish, 19 years, something like that. And born and raised in the church. I'm originally from the Bronx, New York. I was born and raised in the projects. Glad to be here tonight, and glad to see where this. Looking forward to see where this goes.
Awesome. All right, so tonight I'm going to Pastor Anderson. How many children do you have?
Three.
What are their ages?
My oldest one is 34. The middle one is 28, and the youngest one is 23.
Okay. Apostle Holmes.
Daughter.
You're all girls, right?
All girls.
Okay. Apostle Holmes. How many children? What their ages?
I have 5 children and 8 grandchildren.
Wow.
The ages of my children are, you're gonna get me in trouble for this one. I think my oldest is 35, and then it's 33 and 32. Those are my girls. My boys are 18 and 15.
Okay, so you got 35 years experience in fatherhood, and Pastor Davis Anderson has what you said, 33 is your oldest?
33 is the oldest, yes.
Yeah, so you got 33 years. My oldest is 35, I think. So we have some years, and that's just in our own biological children. Some of us are probably uncles and helping around, cousins that we were big brothers to, and we were helped raising them. The reason why I wanted to mention that, because tonight we're going to talk to some of the issues that all of us have heard young men been going through with being fathers. And so sometimes when we're talking about this narrative, or we're speaking about this subject, oftentimes we don't really delve into the details or the real challenges or the issues surrounding fatherhood. You hear about a father who haven't seen their children, and automatically it's a negative connotation, but you may not know the situation surrounding that. The mother might have left somewhere, moved away, or hid the kids, or there might have been some kind of lash out, or something might have happened that you don't know, right? So we don't want to just throw everyone into that one category, but we want to deal with these issues. And so tonight I see that Pastor Brantley's on. I'm going to bring him on stage. Pastor, you on? I don't see you, sir. I want to make sure we see your grill. All right, Pastor, you on? Brantley? Okay, maybe he's still trying to. All right, so what we decided to do is we decided to come up with some scenarios to kind of address these issues and finding ways to address these issues. So, Pastor Brantley, when you're ready, I'll see your face in the green chat room. I want to make sure you're on before we bring you up. So we decided to come up with some scenarios, and we came up with at least 5, and everyone was sent these prior to our meeting tonight, so they can look over them and kind of give some redress. And we're going to talk to them tonight, and hopefully it'll give some explanation as to how to handle these matters, right? What to do in these situations, because a lot of us have gone through these things without any guidance, right? And some of us might have had some instruction, but they've never seen anything like this. And so how do we deal with it? Like, what do we do? How do we, in that moment, you're making these split decisions that can actually impact your life and impact the child's life. And so we need to try to talk around how to address these issues and give younger brothers, or even other men who are dealing with it right now, giving them some solutions on how to handle these situations. So tonight we got about 5. Pastor Brantley, I see you. I don't hear you, sir. I don't know if you're able to come up on screen. Not, but we want to bring you on. I don't know if you can hear me, but as soon as I see your face, I'll bring you up on the platform. All right. So, did you guys get a chance to take a look at these? I know, Pastor Holmes, I don't know if you had a chance to, but did you get a chance to just peruse over them and check them out? You're on mute.
I skimmed through it briefly.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll be fine.
Okay. Pastor Dave?
Yes, I looked at them.
Okay, great. So I'm going to pull them up. I'm not going to put them up on the screen, but we're just going to go in order. Still waiting for some of the other brothers to show up. And we're going to see what you guys think about some of these scenarios.
Absolutely.
I'm going to put up on my I'm going to pull up so I can see it. Oh man. Okay, I didn't load it. Should have loaded it. Still, come on. Oh, there we go. Okay. Come on. Why is it? Okay. Oh, here it is. All right, so we're gonna go right down. Did somebody else come in? Okay, it's Bishop. Okay. All right, Bishop Wilkinson is trying to get on. I can resend the link. Oh, there he is. There he is. All right, hold on. There he is. All right, there you are, brother.
I was on the wrong link.
Yeah, I sent a new one out. Yeah, you gotta send a new one every time because they're different.
Okay, my apologies.
No worries. Pastor Jack is in the green room. He's hanging tight. He might not be able to show his face, but all right, let's go. So, Pastor, just tell him, Pastor Bishop Wilkinson, if you could just introduce yourself again to the church and what city you're from, and how many years you've been fathering.
Bishop Wilkinson, Spring Harvest Ministries, Norwalk, Connecticut. I've been pastoring 24 years. I've been a father 40-something years. How old is my son? However old my son is, that's how long I've been a father.
Okay.
My daughter's 30, so at least 30.
Okay. All right. Well, we got a lot of years here. We got over 100 years of fathering on this panel and combined.
My goodness.
That's a lot of experience, right? It's a lot
Yes,
of experience.
sir.
All right, so here we go. The first scenario, we're gonna get to the first scenario. I'm gonna read it, and we're gonna go around the room now, just to kind of give some backdrop as to how we should probably proceed with this. If whoever gets this question, and let's say Bishop Wilkinson gets the question and he nails it, right? He nails it, and there's nothing else to say. Or if your comment was going to be just the same thing, save it. He said it, right? And if you want to add something to it, you can add something to it. But we don't want to prolong it. We want to try to keep this about an hour 15 minutes. So, but if you have something to share, share it. It's going to be of substance, but don't just repeat what he just said, because we don't want to be redundant. We want to kind of really get through the night and try to get as much done as we can. Is that fair?
Amen.
Sounds good. All right. So the first scenario is this: a 17-year-old male had a child out of wedlock with a young lady he was casually having sex with, not in a committed relationship with her, and did not want to be. He was raised by a single mother. He knew his father, but had no real relationship with him. It's their last year in high school. What would your advice be to this young man? I'm going to ask Apostle Holmes. I want you to speak to this.
It's a good question. I think it's a broad question, because at that age, the father's involvement may be dictated by the mother of the child at that age. And so, face value, I would tell him to be as involved as he can. I would let him know that he doesn't have to have a relationship with the mother to have a relationship with his child. And I would encourage him to be as responsible, emotionally, financially, spiritually, as he can to that child. But again, what he does is probably, gonna go off of how the mother responds to him, because we're talking about a casual sexual relationship. And so there was no planned commitment. And so a lot of what she does is going to dictate his response. I would also advise him to do whatever he can to not abandon the child just because the relationship was casual, but to try and be as involved as he could be, and to think about, if he longed for a father, to be what he didn't have growing up. And that's probably what I would do. It's kind of difficult for me to answer that, because I wasn't, in a situation like that. But I tried my best when my daughters were moved out of state. I tried my best to be involved, as much as I could, every time I could, in their lives. And so I would pass that along.
Okay. Bishop Wilkinson.
Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts on that?
I would only shift one part, and that is, I would say you got to have a working relationship with the mother. It doesn't necessarily have to be intimate, but you probably should get some knowledge on how to co-parent for the emotional health of the child. If I'm speaking from where I am now, I would advise that as a 17-year-old child. Of course, that's different, but from where I am now and things that I have experienced what I've gone through, I would try to establish at least a working co-parenting type relationship where the child is concerned. Again, as I don't want to restate, as you indicated with what Apostle Holmes said, but financial support would definitely be something that needs to be discussed and taken care of, and seek some guidance. Find someone that can mentor you even in that situation, because of course, hopefully it's going to be new. Because the sticking point for me is when you're saying casual, but there's nothing casual about sex once a child comes into play. You know, it automatically becomes something different. So that's all I would add to that at this point.
Pastor David?
Yeah, I stand behind what Pastor Todd was elaborating on 100%. The co-parenting part, the emotional support from the child, and also looking at it from a standpoint of where you, as the 17-year-old, is coming from. If that 17-year-old, I know you mentioned something that he knew his father, but there wasn't a strong relationship with his father. So, we want to be better than our parents. We want to be better than our fathers. A lot of people say, "Oh, we want to be just like our fathers." We want to be better than them, and from standing from the 17-year-old standpoint, if he just had a casual relationship with the woman or a casual relationship with his father, then I would stand behind what Pastor Todd was just saying.
Okay. I don't know, Brother Pastor Jack, I don't know if he's able to talk yet. However, so this is kind of what the approach I was thinking when I came up with this. First thing I thought about is making sure he has a plan for his life, like advising him that his original plan, graduation, college, whatever that was, he should make sure that he stays on track, because at the end of the day, he's got to secure a financial support for that child. So first thing is, like, if you're whatever your plans were, military, whatever it was, college, make sure you stick to that, because you're gonna be a man one day. You still have to follow it out, because a lot of young men tend to feel like they got to abort their dreams or their aspirations, and make sure that you lock that in. Second thing I would advise him to do is to make sure that he is, like you said it, assure the young lady, shore her up that you are going to be there. Like, that's, like, I guess you guys said it in a way, have a relationship, maintain a relationship with the child, because it's important for the child, but that mother's going to be in his life. So just let her know, listen, I know that this is what it is, what happened, but I want you to know that you're not in this alone. Because many times women, and all of us have ministered to women who had children out of wedlock, I'm sure the first thing they think is that they got to do this by themselves, right? And depending on whatever her experience has been because women tend to not have a good response to men who get them knocked up. That's kind of the culture, right? He's like, I make sure he take care of this child. Make sure he, that whole adversarial approach tends to kind of be the narrative, right? Like the guy's trying to run away, like he's trying to get away with something, like he's not going to try to be there. And I think that he has to work hard on making sure that she's clear on that, because if you give her the confidence, now she's got this baby for 9 months, and so I would think about her situation, think about her dreams and aspirations, because she has them also, because this ain't just her fault, this is both of their responsibility. So I would speak to that, because I believe that will help, because she's carrying this child. One thing you do not want is a woman carrying a child that is bitter, angry, and afraid, because that transfers to the child. And that's something a 17-year-old child, some 17-year-old child won't understand, right? He's gonna feel trapped. He's gonna feel cornered. He's gonna feel like she did it on purpose, whatever the boys are saying. But those of us who are men, we can speak to that. We can tell them, listen, man, this is what happens if you go raw. This is kind of the thing that happens when you do that. We can speak to that, and then make sure he shores her up and let her know that she's not her own. And we can do this as a partnership. We're not in love. We don't really, but this is a partnership, and we're going to partner to raise this child together. That would be my approach.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
One of the first things I mentioned is that it's a good question, but it's a broad question. Mm-hmm. And I said that because when you're talking about 17-year-olds, you're probably talking about 2 seniors in high school. You mentioned they were going to be graduating. And so they're still kids. Yeah. And from my experience, the both sides are going to have a lot of players in their ear. Mm-hmm. And that's going to navigate both sides. Yeah. And a lot of times it will pit one against the other. And so it becomes very difficult to try and assure the mother that, hey, I got you. It's especially if we're talking about a casual thing going on prior to conception. And so you really got to weigh all of these factors and look at all of these variables, because we're given responsibles in an imperfect situation, but given a perfect response. But 17-year-olds, and they're probably living at home. Yeah. And so they're going to have a lot of chatter in their ears. And today people just don't play fair. Now, to be fair, statistics have shown that men of color are doing a whole lot better than we think, as far as the fathers being, in a child's life, and then rearing or raising those kids, their kids. And so that's a good thing. But again, we're talking about 2 teenagers in high school, graduating high school. They don't have a relationship, but now here comes a baby. The mother's going to look out for her daughter. And depending on how she was raised and what she had to go through, that may be compounded, and put on her, hey, no, you're going to get him, you're going to get this, you're going to make sure this. And so her attitude is, so there's a lot that can be put into play here. And but I will go back to what Bishop was saying, do your best to try and have some type of working relationship and keep it moving. And I would also say this, because there are a lot of, and you mentioned, and I really don't want to belabor the point, but there's a lot of people out here, a lot of women out here that have the mindset, I can do this by myself. I don't need no man. And it might not be the 17-year-old, but it might be the parent. You don't need, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so therefore, a child is raised without the father because she's like, you don't need him. You don't, just make sure you get him for what he got, or whatever the case is. So he may be pursuing his dreams, right? Say college, army, and then he gets hit, with garnishment and wages. There's something he wasn't planning for. There's a whole lot that goes into this.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I can add, Apostle, but something I always try to say to my children, there's consequences to every choice. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to choose to indulge in some things and you don't indulge in them properly, there may be consequences that you have to deal with. So as you were stating concerning his dreams and stuff, they don't have to be put off, but they may have to be altered.
Yeah.
Because you all decided to have unprotected sex, and this is the consequence of that. Now you don't just get to fly off on your own path now, right, and neglect what you have done. That's a whole nother story, because part of that I could hear from experience. But you don't get to do that. Even if you had plans, even if you had things you planned on doing, once that becomes a part of the equation, you got to adapt. As you Marines say, you got to adapt, improvise, and overcome. And part of that may be to alter your plans just a bit, because it's a consequence of doing adult things.
Yeah.
And I understand what Apostle was saying about, now, if you have parents, as he was stating, on each side that are going to come into play and make sure the child is taken care of while you both pursue the plans you had, that's a different variable. But if you don't have that, then, you know, there's going to be a lot of slippery slopes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Second scenario. This is a little more in depth. I put a lot of beef around this because this is a little complicated. So, second scenario is this: a couple in their late 20s dating for several years with 2 children. Their relationship was up and down. He has a high school diploma, and we're focusing more on the men. That's kind of the whole, but we know that's not all of this, but we want to make sure we kind of highlight his situation. He has a high school diploma. He was raised by his grandmother, who was widowed, so she was single. Grandma has a criminal record and did a few years in prison, struggling with getting and keeping a job. He doesn't pay child support consistently, a few dollars here and there. The children's mother is frustrated. He can see the children, but not without hearing her insults and child support threats. He feels like it isn't worth being in his children's life because of the drama. What advice would you give this father? I'm going to start this one with Pastor Anderson.
Okay.
He's got a lot of twists and turns on this one.
Yeah. It's a tight one. It's a tight one. Well, this is gonna have everything to do with the young man that's in his 20s. If he spent some time, you said, now, what was the relationship with his father? He had no relationship with his father.
He was raised by his
grandmother,
who was widowed.
Okay, and so he evidently had to deal with a fatherless upbringing. And it's a tight one because, you know, at the age of 20, there should be some type of information that he has been able to receive by experience.
Just to clarify, he's in his late 20s.
Late 20s, yeah. He should have some type of wisdom that he has experienced because of lack of fatherhood. And I'm pretty sure he has received some emotional trauma behind not having his father in his life. And if there is a child present in his life through a woman, then he might have some type of energy towards making sure that his son or daughter doesn't have to go through what he went through.
So how would you advise him? Like, he's asking you, man, I got this problem.
How would I advise him? I would advise him to look at it from his standpoint as not being raised with his father. I would advise him the same way that I took it, because I can put myself in that scenario. You know, when I came home from doing those years that I did and being raised without a father, the only thing I had in my heart and on my mind to do was to make sure I fathered my children, because I didn't want them to go through what I went through. So that's what I would kind of inform this young man, if he wanted to see his child raised up in a better environment and in a better parental situation, because it's detrimental to his mental health. It's detrimental to his physical health. It's detrimental to his freedom, and it's detrimental to all areas of his life. And so, yeah, I would tell him that it's very critical that he finds a way to maintain a co-parenting relationship with the mother so that he can father that child. That's what I would tell.
All right, Bishop, your thoughts?
I'd advise him to go to the courts and initiate a case with a court worker and get them involved and kind of help them mediate what needs to take place next. Because I mean, if you are trying to take care of your child, you shouldn't have to deal with all that animus from the mother and all the abuse. So rather than wait and have to be insulted and deal with the hostilities, you know, you bring a caseworker into it and see what can be established to kind of bring some peace to the situation, where you can do away with the threats, you can do away with the insults, and maybe you can see your child on different terms.
Okay.
You know, and so I don't think any man or woman wants to sit there and have to go through a whole barrage of insults just to deal with your child. So if you're not afraid and if you're doing things as properly as you can, the best course of action for me would be to go down to the courts myself and initiate a case and hope for the best.
All right, listen, those of you who are listening, please, you could chime in, put your comments in. You can, so we can kind of hear. So don't think you can't respond, but this is about to get interesting. All right, so Pastor Holmes. All right, let's talk
Here we
let's
go.
go, man.
That ain't gonna work, man. Bishop, you know you my boy, man. I love you, man. Ain't no court gonna stop no woman from it's just, and respect to all the single mom, no disrespect to y'all, but you know, I agree that, you know, you go ahead on and initiate that, but that's not really gonna quell the situation. I'm talking from experience. That ain't gonna do nothing, man. What I advise, I was chuckling, man, because I'm just thinking back. I'm like,
you want him to choke us, kill us?
It's tough, man. It's tough. It really is, and it goes back to the consequences. But I would just say I would tell the father to learn or try and hear and not hear. You know what I mean? Like, and just try.
Come on, bro. As you say, I love you. That ain't gonna work either.
That's why I said try. I said try, and it's tough all the way around, man. Because the scenario here is a brother in his late 20s. You know, he did some time. He's struggling to get a job.
No, the grandmother did time, right, Apostle?
No, he did some time.
Oh, he did time.
Yeah, he did time.
And he can't find a job.
He gets one.
Find a job and keep a job.
Oh, he's gonna be insulted.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's going to happen. That's you know,
that's what I'm saying, man. This is a tough one right here, because you know, if he's trying to get a job, a lot of dudes that come out, they don't put everything down on the application, and what happens is it winds up catching up to them and they get fired. Or they put everything down on the application and they don't get the job. And so you're trying to do what you got to do, and sometimes, you know, you got it, and sometimes you don't. As far as the money is concerned, it's just a tough situation. I would tell him, yo, just knuckle up and deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, you know what you got.
I misunderstood the question. I thought he was raised by a grandmother that had done time.
No.
No.
And
I forgive you, Bishop. I forgive you.
But I still would almost kind of give the same advice that you got to get somebody else involved. There's got to be some kind of
I'll tell you
mediation.
what, I would say this, as far as the financial aspect of it is, yes, because you can't draw water from a rock, so to speak. right? And so she's going to get what she gets when I got it because all the income is in the system. I got that. When it comes to seeing my son or daughter, that's a whole different ball game, you know. And even with that, yes, you may have to initiate supervised visits or something like that, but that's not forever.
Right.
You know, that's not forever. And so you're going to have to, there's an expiration date to that, and you're going to have to deal with the situation. One of the things that, one of the things that the courts try to do nowadays, for the most part, is with the mediation, they attempt like counseling on both sides.
Right. Well, that's what I'm thinking. I didn't spell it all out, but that's what I'm thinking. If you initiate a case, and an advisor comes in, they can recommend counseling and different tools and resources that are kind of available to help in this situation, and possibly even get him on track to find stable employment despite his record.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole lot.
Can I say something? Can I chime in here? I just want to say something. Yeah, I just want to say something real quick. A lot of times, all right, and I spoke about this last time we was on this platform. All right, a lot of times, okay, your time with the child is more valuable than the money that you can provide for the child.
Absolutely.
All right, and so like I said, you know, sometimes, you know, we have to look at other cultures and see how they do it, because, you know, we like you were saying back, you know, a long time ago, our culture has fallen short, but we have gotten better. Okay, and you know, just to pick up your son or your daughter, you may only have $12 in your pocket. Okay, they will enjoy 2 hours, 3 hours with you. Even if you didn't take them to the mall to buy them a pair of Jordans, even if you didn't take them to the store to buy them something out of the mall, they will enjoy walking in the park with you, throwing a baseball, okay, back and forth. They will enjoy more time with you going to the zoo. They will spend they will enjoy more time spending with you, even if you didn't spend a dime, because that will be more valuable to them mentally, okay? Because a lot of times, you know, we look at, what can I provide? What can I provide? Sometimes, you know, most men in this situation here, a brother coming home from prison, all right, in his late 20s, if he can hold a job or keep a job or lose a job, if he continues to push to spend time with that child while he's going through those phases, I think we'll just do an outstanding job.
But that doesn't lend to what Apostle was talking about when he said you being berated.
You gotta look past that, because you know one of the things
y'all good then.
No, I'm just saying. Think about this.
Let me tell you what happened to me.
Hold on. Let me just say this. You guys are fathers right now. You guys are husbands right now. You guys are providers right now. And you ever heard the saying, you're daggone if you do, and you're daggone if you don't?
Not quite like that.
So,
but
I didn't hear it like that. Right, exactly.
Hey, look.
No, you clean it up. I got it.
You giving us the saved version.
Hey, look. But you know, the thing is that we're gonna get it regardless. We're gonna listen in the eyes of children, in the eyes of our spouses or baby mothers. Okay. No matter how good we do, how much we do, all right, we're not going to meet the mark. We're not going to meet the mark.
I don't agree. That's always not with the right person.
All right, hold on. Pastor Holmes.
Let me say this, because I saw a couple of the comments from the ladies on, and I think one of the comments was, it's not about the money.
Let me put on my reader so I can see it.
Is the scenario that we were presented, and so we were speaking to that, because you have some guys out here that are just they're just no good. You know what I mean? They don't want to be a father. They don't want to have anything to do with their children. And then on the other side, you have men out here that do want to be fathers to their children, and they're not allowed to be to full capacity. And so what we're dealing with here is the scenario that we were presented with. The other comment was to, I think my sister was responding to Pastor Anderson's comments, in which I agree with him wholeheartely. And she said, absolutely, that's what us women have been saying, something to that effect. Mm-hmm. And so, but you have both sides here. You have the men who want to be fathers and are not allowed to be, and you have the guys who are trying to be, right? And they don't have the finances, and so they're getting berated, as Bishop put it. And then you have the guys that they're just losers. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so, but once again, we were dealing with the scenario presented. Let me say what I would tell him to do. I would tell him to try and just cancel out the noise. You know what I mean? And be in that child's life. And that's hard. Yeah. Let me hard. Say this. I know what it is. I know what it is to be like dogged out. And he was talking about being damned if you do and damned if you don't. They had the money. You know what I'm saying? I was spending time with my kids the whole night. It didn't matter. I was still, the names were still, just every single time, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't matter. And so you have that, but you got to learn to cancel that out. Otherwise, it'll be what we were talking about last week. You know what? I don't even want to deal with this. Yeah. And so one of the things that we mentioned, I don't know if it's in one of the other questions, but so I don't want to keep on going, but that's what I would tell him, along with some other things. You know what I mean? Oh, that's what it was. One of the things that I heard the other day, which they did for our people, was they took all of these vocational type things out of school. Yeah. We used to have car shop. We used to have wood shop. We used to have all of these things where they taught you how plumbing, electrical stuff. All of these things were in school when I was coming up. They don't have that. But you don't have to go. You don't have to work a 9 to 5 for somebody else. Start your own landscaping business. Mm-hmm. Start your own. You know what I mean? Take out a loan. Do something to go to plumbing school. Learn electrical. So you can start your own thing. And
let me speak to that, Apostle, because those things that are available, they're just not available as we used to see it. I was in a meeting on Thursday. That's why I missed our follow-up. And we were talking to a state senator, and we were talking to a congressman, and they were explaining where and how those type of resources have been allocated. So they're there. You may have to go down to City Hall and find out where you can get the information from. But some of these things exist. We just don't take advantage or have the knowledge or the know-how to ask the proper questions or been given the proper channels to go through to find out where they were. Because as you said, we had wood shop and metal shop and stuff in high school. There are those kind of programs, training programs exist, but we just got to know how to be pointed in the direction of how to find them and get those skills.
Yeah, they got them in the prisons now.
So we don't want them in the prison. We want them.
Hey, look! I'm talking about the brother that was 20 years and over. Yeah. You know, they got them in the prison.
We want to get it to them out. We want to get it to them out here. So
that's what we want to do.
The one thing I would make sure, because I think all of you guys kind of dealt with it in your own way, and you got to kind of parse these things out, right? Because the scenario was a contrast, right? It was designed for that reason. You know, he wants to see the child, but there's a conflict, right? He wants a job, but there was a conflict, right? So it seems like everywhere he turned, there's this disadvantage. There's something fighting against him. And I think what happens is a lot of our young men deal with these matters. They just don't know how to address them because to them it looks like a barrage of attacks, everything's fighting against them, but it has a lot to do with his decisions he made, right? And then now he's got to be able to deal with the fact that, okay, you had these children, and good thing he wants to see them. However, he's got to overcome something to see them because of a situation that some mistake he made in his past. Now, so what I think is that when you start identify, like you guys, like I said, you all dealt with it, right? One thing he's going to need some therapy, right? Because he's got to overcome some emotional rejection, right? Some abandonment traumas, and being raised by a big mama, depending on big mama's approach to life, right? He's got to overcome those things, right? The abandonment of his children, his mother. Where's his mother at? I left that out on purpose because this guy is raised by his grandmother. So, of course, you can assume his mother died or she left him, whatever the case is. So he was abandoned by his parents. And so he's doing what Pastor Dave said. He wants to try to see his kids because he knows how much he hurt, but he's got to overcome this other thing. So I think that those of us as leaders, when we listen to this, we gotta focus on, gotta help him with an approach to mitigating all these factors. You guys mentioned vocational school. You guys mentioned, just canceling out the noise and chalking it to the cost. Right. This is what happens when you commit a crime. Now you got to pay for it. You got to pay for it some more. Right. On this end. Then you got to learn. Then you got to learn how to talk to the woman, because she's a woman. Right. Not to belittle women, but women are emotional. Women only see what's in front of them. And so if you learn how to find a way to negotiate, because you're going to have some negotiating skills when you're dealing with a frustrated woman. Her frustration is not displaced, right? She's not mad because she has no reason. She's mad because she's got to carry this weight on her own, and that's causing some problems. So you got to help him be able to understand that and talk to it. Not, listen, I know this is the case. We know how women are. All of us do, right? All of us dealt with women. We know that sometimes they can be hard to understand, but we also know that you got to learn that woman. He has to know he has 2 children by her. So you got to start asking questions. Listen, man, what is she like? Right? How do you make it convenient? You may not be able to put money, but what about a car? Change the oil, gas, help out on that end. There's all kinds of approaches to things. And I think that because when we are seasoned men, we have to not feed into the fact, okay, this is your obstacle, but brother, you got to learn how to approach that obstacle and work through it. And he don't get a pass. Like, that's another thing too, because he was raised by a woman, so he might have some like those feminine qualities, right? Like he feel like things should be handed to him, right? He shouldn't have to go through nothing. Kill that, right? Because we gotta speak to the man in you. The men overcome. We have to stand through it. You can't argue with a woman. You shouldn't argue. So all those traits he has to learn, right? And he learns them from men, and from men who know. So I think that all those kinds of the way we approach certain things, I think we have to kind of really unpack it for him. It's a tough one, and I did it on.
Apostle, can I say something to you?
Yes, sir.
One of the things that I've always understood was that it's hard for you to father children if you've never been fathered, right? And we know there's no playbook, right? We can't get a book from Amazon on fatherhood, and we were raised without our fathers, so we're kind of like in a lost zone as far as fatherhood is concerned, right? The proper way, the proper approach, not to just deal with the child, but to deal with the mother of the child. And so sometimes, it's this thing they call trial and error, right? I see it as try and error, all right? Because we have to try, we have to push, okay, to a point where we're going to make mistakes. And then we have to get that woman who is with us, or whoever had a child with us, to understand, all right? But during that understanding, they got to see that we have a zeal and a zest to be fathers to our children. All right, they want to see that, okay? Not just for the child to see it, all right, but for the mother of the children to see that, because that gives them a sense of security. But at the same time, all right, because you know the situation with my wife when I came home, all right, you know, when she was pregnant with my first child, I said I'm going to marry you before the baby's here. All right, and so, and guess what? You know, I've lost a whole bunch of jobs. Okay, and when I say a whole bunch of jobs, I'm talking about 7 to 8 jobs. Okay, some of the jobs I lost right after I got hired. Okay, and it was because of my background. It was because of what I've done in the past. All right, and you know, but I always try to keep in communication with my wife to let her know that this is just a setback. Okay, I'm gonna keep pushing. I'm gonna keep moving forward. I'm gonna keep trying. I'm not gonna stop, because this job told me they can't hire me because of my background, and the next job said the same thing. Don't mean that it's gonna continue. I'm gonna keep pushing and trying. And see, a lot of times, you know, we gotta put forth more of an effort, like Apostle Holmes was saying. We got to put all of the noise aside. All the things that are coming against us, we got to put that stuff to the side, because those are the things that can influence us to say, I give up. I don't want to do this no more. It's too much. And then you guys are right. If you have the woman, okay, adding to that, okay, it's very discouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Number everybody's clear? All right, number 3. This is a tough one. And I think I like the responses. I think that I think we're making some headway with this. And these situations, I'm sure I know brothers are dealing with them. Let's go. Number 3. All right, so this is gonna be a little tough. I think all you guys may be able to, especially Pastor Holmes.
I'm waiting for number 4.
Here we go. All right. So number 3, a divorced couple after 13 years of marriage, 3 children, boys 10 and 3 children, a boy 10 and 8, and a girl 5. Active and supportive father. Mother remarried. Father is single but occasionally dating. Nothing serious. The new husband is causing conflicts with the children's father's involvement due to his insecurity. What is your advice to this guy? Obviously,
I think you said Apostle Holmes, you first.
Yeah, go ahead. You can jump on this one.
Man, ain't no dude keeping me from seeing my kids. Man.
Yeah, he's gonna catch hands or something, man.
we gonna have a serious problem like that. You shouldn't even put this one on the board. Bro.
Yeah, we can't even be politically correct about this.
See, this is the thing. This is why we got it, because these situations are out here, and all you guys know it. And we can't tell a guy to swing on the dude. Right? Because we're pastors. We're pastors.
You trying to keep me from my kids?
Wait. What I'm saying is this. What I'm saying to you is
it's that mentality now. This ain't the pastor mentality. It's a dude that's trying to block me.
Yeah, but he's blocking because he's insecure, right?
It don't matter. It don't matter, bro. I know. We're not even going there. You know what I mean?
I'm getting Holmes, my fire trooper, my ride or die, and we throwing hands.
All right, listen.
You won't even see it coming.
Okay, so I guess I'm gonna have to speak to this.
Yeah, you speak to this.
Pastor Dave,
we power jumping in, Holmes.
Pastor Dave, what do you think,
Yeah.
man? Got anything to say?
Well,
to this guy?
I mean,
the situation?
that's a real good topic. All right, and it's a good scenario. Because this is what happens with insecure men. This is what happens with weak fathers. This is what happens with a lot of men, all right, who don't want to be fathers, can't be fathers, and can't get it right trying to be a father. And the minute the baby's mother or their ex-wife, okay, meets a real man that wants to father not only his children, but the other man's children, okay, they become vulnerable. They become mad. They start hating. And and I understand what Pastor Wilkerson and Holmes are saying. I mean, I get that 100% because
The
that's
scenario
where
is, Pastor, the scenario is the father's a good father,
Yeah.
and that the new husband don't want him to see his children because he's insecure.
Yeah.
That's the
Right.
scenario you speaking to. Maybe the father not being so good.
Yeah. The
Right.
father's a
That's
good father.
different. But
He's
if
very
I'm a
supportive.
good father and always been in my children's life,
right.
and the only reason I'm having an issue seeing them now is because the new husband who married my ex-wife is insecure. That's problematic. We going in and with a battalion. We dive bombing, man.
Yeah.
All right, so
Well, I mean, me personally, man, I can't really speak to that. You can't.
Man, let's go to the next question, man. Y'all get me off the edge just talking about this, man.
Hey, listen, most men shouldn't get in the way of that.
You triggered home.
They shouldn't get in the way of that.
Triggered Apostle.
I know it's trigger warning. Listen,
man.
Listen. I got it
for my kids, bro. We
gonna hey, Apostle.
Yeah, man.
The average man should know better to get in the way of a good father with his kids.
Well, that's
what I'm saying.
That's kind of leading into the next question.
So let me speak to this because I know that this is you
Ain't
guys.
Nothing to say, man.
Well, that's all right. You got nothing to say. I got something to say. I got something to say.
Yeah, you take this one. You take this one.
So
I'm gonna drink my water.
Listen, there are many ways to address this issue, right? And I believe that we all can throw hands. I mean, anybody could just fight, but that's not an answer, right? We can't advise a young man who's really dealing with this matter and tell him, listen, he got to go knock this dude's block off. That's just not going to work. And all it's going to do is get him locked up, right? And then now what? He still can't see his kids.
Let me put it this way.
No, let me finish. No.
I ain't got to be there to touch you.
Oh, let me finish. You had your shot. Let me deal with this. You had your shot. I gave you full reign. You said no. Got it. You want to fight? All right. All right, Brutus. All right, Brutus. So so this is how I'm a hothead. So I understand that side of it. But I do understand that if I'm giving a young man some direction and he's got to deal with this problem, what he's going to have to do, because again, the woman, now she's supposed to help, right? Her job is to say, listen, stay out of his way. So I would first say to him, listen, did you talk to the children's mother about the situation? Now she sees it going on, obviously, but she has to understand that she's going to have to get involved in this because this is something that she brought into the mix.
Good comment by the sister there.
I see it. Yeah, it's a good comment.
I agree. So, she got to intervene.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So she's got to help with this because she married this insecure dude, right? And that's a flaw. It's a personality flaw. And this guy is insecure because something happened to him. Now, because we're intelligent, because we're men of wisdom. We have to approach this thing in a way to give him some kind of way to approach this. The way he's got to look at this is say, listen, you're going to have to talk to this young man because apparently he's got some flaws and he's intimidated by you. And you need to hopefully assure him that he has no reason to be threatened by you. Because the reason why he's having a problem is not because of the kids. It's because he don't want this dude around his woman because he's afraid that he can get her back. That's what this is really about. So he's got to find a way around that. He's got to think through it because listen, man, I know we having problems. I know we having issues, but my problem is not with you. You don't have to worry about me with your lady, man. I'm on your side. I'm happy for you. I want your marriage to work, but man, please, just you gotta give me some room with my kids, man. You know, and I think that because men need to talk, right? Men need to, because again, if he's threatened by you, he's already threatened by you, which means that you have authority over him, right? Which means that he's inferior by you. So what you got to do is let him know he has no reason to be, and that you are not his threat. Actually, you are his ally. Because again, you got to think smart. This guy has your children in his house. All right. If you flip the script, you're getting locked up. Now, no telling what he'll do to those kids. So you got to think it through. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm gonna bust him in the head" or whatever. No, I gotta be wise on how I deal with this, because if I don't deal with it wisely, it's gonna cost me and ultimately cost my children. Again, this guy is in the house with your kids.
Right? Yeah, this woman has to orchestrate it, though, right? I mean, pretty much she has to.
No, let me tell you, right? She doesn't have to orchestrate it, but she has to be a part of it. You follow what I'm saying?
I think she has to play a big part in that.
Well, she has to listen. She has to listen to me. You guys had your chance, man. So she has to be involved, but it's not going to come from her. It's going to have to come from him, right? Because he's the authority. Believe it or not. The fact that he's intimidated puts him in. You gotta understand when you have power, and you gotta exercise that power wisely. And if you start kind of going tit for tat, it'll never work. So he's got to find a better way around. That's how I would.
I'd agree. I agree.
Let me say this. I understand what you're saying. I kind of agree with what my sister was saying. If a sister remarries, and the guy knows that, and I understand that this is a scenario.
Yeah.
But more often than not, she's gonna let dude know he has a father. Not only does he have a father, but his father is in his life. And we
that's right.
And
this comment says that part, that's a him problem. I'm standing 10 tones down. My children's father is going to see his children, period. Point blank, I had children before you married me.
Exactly.
There you go. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's just it. So what I was saying was, more often than not, the woman is going to check that before they even go down that aisle.
Yeah. That would all jokes aside, me and Holmes joke like that, but all jokes aside, that would be a realistic way to approach. She has to kind of mediate that situation.
Yeah, y'all wasn't joking about that, man. I believe y'all would have ran.
Let's get that straight. Brooke knows me, and Carly knows my background. We ain't having that. You know what I mean? Like, we ain't having that. I'm peaceful.
Yeah.
But when you play with me and my kids, bro.
I come in peace, man. But See,
hey,
when you have certain backgrounds, athletic backgrounds, military backgrounds, things of that nature, there are certain things that trigger you into fight mode.
Yeah.
Well,
see, that's the thing. Like I would be triggered if you put your hands on my kid. See that? Then it's on go now, right?
I would be triggered if you tell me what I can't do.
No. Listen, tell me what I can't do versus making it difficult for me to do it, right? What I was saying, he's not directly going to say. I said, if you read it, he made it difficult. He makes it difficult for them to see the kid. Like, this is my weekend. Oh, we stayed longer at the party, or we didn't get back in time, or we're out of town. Some nonsense. Just always just kind of making it difficult. And so again, and that's something that you can tell, right? You can look at. Listen, most of us here, we could look at a man and see what kind of guy he is. Right? You knew what kind of man. When you looked at that dude, you can tell what kind of man he was. You already knew he was trembling when he met you, right?
Yeah, true that.
Right? Because the kids love you. The kids gonna talk up for their daddy, right? So you already have a presence, and he's not a slouch, right? He's not a slouch. He's a real solid dude, right? He's got his act together. He can't throw shit on this guy because the guy, he's in a supportive, paying child support, taking care of his babies. He's right there. So he's present. He's full present. And so when that guy addresses this dude, he's already going to be intimidated. But now you got to use that to your advantage, right? Because you can also make him feel like he don't have to be threatened because you already have control over him. And the fact that he's afraid, he's already peeped that, right? So it's a way to deal with it. And that's just what I'm saying. And we got to give
got that one.
We got to give men another approach to pulling out our 9 and going ham because. All right, let's go. Pastor Jack is on with us. I think he came on for number 4. I think number 4 is everybody won't be on number 4. All right, here we go. Let's go to number 4. Pastor Jack, you all right, man?
I'm all right. I sent you a text letting you know what's going on. But
yeah, I know
I'm
you're
listening.
gonna be late.
I'm listening on.
Thanks for coming on, man. All right, so
no
check
problem.
it. Here's number 4. This is it, number 4. All right, here we go. The man, he's in his mid-40s and 5 children out of wedlock, and 3 different women, raised by a single mother, never met his father. He never saw his children, never made any effort. He pays child support under duress, never consistent with a large arrearage. What advice would you give this absentee father?
I wouldn't tell him nothing.
Pastor Jack, go. You go first, Pastor Jack. See, Holmes.
That has to register. That has to register for a minute.
All right, go ahead. All right, Holmes, let's go. Let's get the fireworks. Let's get the fireworks out.
What do you tell a guy like that? He's in his 40s. You know, he hasn't had any relationship with his children. He pays child support under duress. He's got kids all over the world. Like, he's a bum. He's a bum. You know what I mean? Like, if anything, and it's a stretch, because a dude like that just doesn't care. From my experience, he just doesn't care, and they don't get it. And so that, to me, the scripture that comes to mind is don't cast your pearls to swine. You know what I mean? Don't even get into it with fools. So that's the kind of picture here that was painted. That in my experience, guys like that, they just don't get it at all, and they won't get it. You know, with you talking to them or trying to advise them. 40 and no relationship with the kids. I mean, somebody else might have a better thought, but I have very little tolerance for men who don't want a relationship with their children. I have a very low tolerance for that, you know, especially if you spread your seed all over the planet and you have no relationship. I know guys like this. I don't have any respect for them.
Okay.
How old are these? I know he's 40 years old. I know he's 40, but how old are these kids?
So the kids are, I didn't put the ages of the kids in there?
No,
I didn't
sir.
put the ages. All right, so mid-40s. I mean, they got it. Let's say he's in the mid-40s. They got to be in their teens, right? I mean,
I would say at this point, he has his mind made up what he's not going to do. And like one of the pastors said, what do you tell somebody like that at this point?
Okay. All right, Bishop.
Well, you know, since you came from the we are pastors and leaders position, I'm going to take that stance in this instance and at least say we should try to show him the damage he is doing by not being a part of their lives and not being a parental contributor. Not to say that it's going to make any difference. I'm not saying that, but the question is asked, what would I say to them? And I would just take him on a journey and show him some experiences of how absentee fatherism affects the community at large and affects these children at large. If you want to get biblical, the Bible says the glory of children is their father. And so when they don't have that glory to be an example, that affects them in a certain way. And I would try to find some ways to kind of show him that though you may think it's not causing any harm, it really is on some levels. Because how many stories do we see when people have been raised by great adoptive parents, but when they find out their parents are alive, they want to meet them. They want to know where they came from. They want to, have some kind of connectivity or even some type of closure. So from a man standpoint, I agree with Pastor Holmes, Apostle. I don't know what you tell him, if I'm a pastor, I'm going to try to instill him with some knowledge to show him the effect he is having on them societally, physically, emotionally, all those things, the damage he's doing to them by not being a part of their life.
I forgot one thing, Apostle. I grew up with a guy. He's in church, been in church his whole life. Family's well known. Got a daughter out here. The daughter's been trying to connect with her father for years, right? Since I could remember. She found out where he was located. Now, I grew up with this guy. Nice guy, right? She showed up at his doorstep. He closed the door in her face.
Oh, come on, man.
I got no respect for that man.
Yeah, you said he was a nice guy.
Yep. On the outside, I got
did
no
he
respect.
Close the door in his daughter's face?
Close the door in her face. I got no respect. I gotta have no tolerance for that. You know what I mean? None whatsoever. None whatsoever.
He ain't a nice guy.
Nope, not at all.
That I wouldn't even prefer to him as a nice guy.
Church, elder.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Can I say something to it?
Yeah.
Hey, look. Hey, what I'm about to say didn't come from me. It came from God.
Okay.
Okay. 1 Timothy, and this goes along with Apostle Holmes was saying. All right, and I believe God feels the same way. But in 1 Timothy 5:8, and I just happen to have my Bible in front of me. It says, real clear, but if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his own household, he has denied the faith, and check this out, and is worse than an unbeliever. Worse than an unbeliever. Now, Apostle Holmes, you said you have no respect for these guys, right?
That's what I said.
God says they're even worse than an unbeliever. So you are right along those lines with our Lord, because people like that, God considers them, okay, worse than the worst. You see? And we as a people, what can we say to people like this? As pastors, what can we say to them when they're like Pastor Bradley said, they've already made up their minds? Why are we wasting our time? Because we're wasting our pearls. All right? Because those pearls could be used for somebody else, according to those other scenarios.
One thing we have to consider is Paul, when he's writing that, he's answering questions that are being dealt with within the church.
Absolutely.
And so we can assume that he's writing to talk to what you would do to a brother that claims to be a believer that's not doing that. That wasn't presented in this scenario.
No, that's a broad statement from the Apostle Paul.
Right.
I mean, if you take a look at it in the commentaries, it's a clear, broad statement. Everything that God says is broad. It's not based on one scenario or personal scenario. Okay, God is looking for men to take care of their household.
Absolutely.
That's why He said His household. And he's not necessarily talking about the church. He's not necessarily talking about an unbeliever. He's talking about any person who can't take care of their children.
That's true. I'm not arguing that, but in the context of some of Paul's writings, some of it is Paul's opinion. Paul was a chauvinist.
Yeah, well, that's according to how you see it.
Paul had a certain perspective that he saw things that didn't necessarily come from God.
Amen. I hear you. I'm not going to dispute that.
With that being said, as a man, it's crazy to me that a man would not want to take care of his
I
child.
agree with y'all. I'm just
Amen.
playing devil's advocate.
I know what you was going at, Bishop.
Yeah, I agree with y'all. I'm not
It's
fighting
just,
you, Pastor Anderson. I agree with you.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
I don't think that there's anything that you can say to a person who has that type of lifestyle or mentality. You know, you're talking about in this scenario someone who has not had a relationship with their children at all. You know, has 3-5 different forget what the number is from 3 different people, and chooses not to have a relationship and only pays child support under duress. He has no intention whatsoever on doing right. And I think the only thing that will get him right is just the gospel, not his children. You know what I'm saying? Not anything.
But the Bible, Apostle, is not going to matter to a person like that.
No. What I'm saying is,
okay.
when I say the gospel, I'm talking about him getting saved.
Okay.
And God working on his heart. That's what I'm talking about.
There you go. Yep, that's it. That's it. That's that part.
Anything other than that, you're wasting your time. Anything on the natural side, I've seen these guys. Like I've seen a lot of these guys, and they don't get it. They don't care. You know,
Nope.
and I have no tolerance for guys like that.
So if God don't prick their heart, then you saying there's no help for them.
Pretty much. I've seen these guys, man. They don't get it, and they don't care. They don't care. I know guys that got 7, 8, 9 kids, man. They don't care.
No.
And
Don't care at all.
But and also what you find with a lot of these guys is that they didn't have a father in the home. So
right. So okay.
This question can branch off, because a lot of these guys that have kids with 5, 6, 7 different women, they have a void in them, and they have a lot of them have some.
So let's talk to that, Pastor Jack. What do you think, man?
Repeat that, Pastor.
What do you think? You agree with these guys that this is a lost cause?
I wouldn't say it's a lost cause, but I would definitely say it's how do you deal with it? I think we're not giving our children enough credit. I think if anybody can impact, I believe that even if it's 5, 10 years down the road, I believe our children can impact the life of a father. You know, that's an absentee father.
Good point.
It may not be right away. It may be over a period of time. But I believe if me as a child is consistent, and I'm coming to my father saying, listen, you know, and trying to talk to him, I think eventually, you know, he may listen. And I'm not saying it will, but it may pierce his heart.
That's a good point.
And that goes with going along with someone said with prayer, and you know, and him, you know, because anything can happen. Maybe he might be on his sick bed. That he, you know what I mean? Hopefully it don't have to get to that point. But he may be on his you know, on his sick bed, and he might be like, you know what? He ain't got nothing but time, right? So now he's thinking about a lot of things that he have done in the past. So that's something that may, again, hopefully that's not the scenario, but because we want him to have time with his children. We don't want him to have to be on his sick bed to open up his eyes and realize that I need to be a father to my kids.
So I just so you guys know, we lost Facebook. I don't know why I can't. We lost Facebook.
Apostle, I gotta kind of exit at this time. I got a appointment, man. I gotta be up at 2 a.m, fellas.
All right, handle that. God bless you, man.
Man, it's been a pleasure, man. With you guys, man. All right, you know, Apostle Holmes and Pastor Troy, man. Y'all might go ahead and put on them boxing gloves, and you know, and and it's been a blessing, man. And I will talk to you guys later, Apostle.
God bless you, man.
Let me know when the next one is coming. All right.
Absolutely, we'll let you know.
All right, man. God bless you guys.
God bless you.
Bless you, sir.
All
right. So, and we can do the last one really quick. But this is what I would say. And again, I didn't think about these things. I know we all had them in time, but really just kind of addressing them. And this guy here that we all know the mindset, right? This guy is irresponsible. He's negligent. He's a deadbeat, as we would refer to him. The reason why I left it like this, because I did leave it open, because again, there's a whole lot of different ways we can go to this, right? There's a whole lot of ways we can approach it. And I think dealing with a guy like this, it's not natural. We know deadbeats, right? So we can't, again, but it's not natural for a man to want to have anything to do with his children, right? It's just not natural. It's just, so obviously this guy has a dysfunction, clearly.
Right.
And it may not be all his fault. And I think sometimes we assume that he just is irrelevant, he's ignoring, but this guy could be dealing with other issues. Obviously he is, right? He's having kids all over the place. He's not having any regard for them. And so clearly there's a flaw. I think that based on what we all, and I think one of the brothers talking about prayer, Pastor Jack, I think discernment has to kick in, right? Because I think we can't give up, because I bumped this guy. You can't say anything to him. He's worthless. He's a bum, whatever. Okay, but we can't give up, right? The point is, this guy is coming to us, and this is his situation, right? It's not, the scenarios are not that we just found this guy walking around and wandering around. He's coming to us. He may not be asking, what should he do? He's telling you his situation, and now he's in our presence, and we have an opportunity to minister, minister to him. So this is where you guys are talking about the Holy Spirit, God. I think we have, because once you put him into a category and you're walking away, you're already annoyed. You don't like the guy. He's a deadbeat. Now you've already made your mind about him.
Right.
I didn't catch that part that he came to us.
All these guys are coming to us for advice, right? This is the idea. He's coming to us for advice. It's not a guy like, how else we meet this guy? This guy is coming. Everybody's coming to us for advice.
Right.
And so
I would walk him through Proverbs, man.
So that's my point. You gotta walk him through. Like, he apparently, and maybe not, maybe he does, maybe don't, but apparently he doesn't see himself, right? And I think that's one of the benefits we have that the world does not have. The world just kicks these guys to the curb. The world just says, he's a deadbeat, he's no good. There's something wrong with this guy. And, and we have to find ways by the Holy Spirit to reach him. And I think that if we took it like this, like we took it like, no, of course, we're not going to pay this guy child support. No, we're not going to, mitigate on his behalf. We're going to try to find ways to help find out why is he like this, and then ask the Lord to give us information to prick his heart, because like Pastor Jack said, he's gonna want to know his children, and he's gonna want to know he's gonna want that life at some point, right? So that's what I want to get at. I want us to, because this is a guy we do want to throw away. This is a guy that we do automatically have our and women do too, right? And some of the stuff, some of the stuff we gotta be careful, because some of the ways that I've heard us approach them and stuff was feminine, right? We don't, we kind of take on the woman's position, right? And we gotta be careful with that, because we're men, and when men, we have to look at things from a different point of view. We gotta try to ask God to open our understanding, so we say, okay, well, let me not make this personal. I don't like you, but I gotta help you. Right. And I got to find ways to help you. That's just kind of how I.
Pastor Jack, I think, made a great point that at some point the children may make a difference in that scenario as well. I guess I'm like Pastor Holmes. I wasn't really sure that these people were approaching us looking for advice. I thought we were just giving our opinions about them. If they're approaching us looking for advice, then my approach would probably be different. If the weak husband is approaching me saying, help me, because I'm uncomfortable with you being around my wife, that's a whole different approach. I didn't look at it through that lens. I'm glad you added that in there.
Yeah, that changes
a whole lot of my answers.
Right.
If from the beginning case to now, if these people were approaching us.
Well, that's why I put in there, what advice would you give this father? That was like,
but I thought we were just, I don't know maybe they were random. We're looking at them from a different perspective. But if they're coming to us as spiritual leaders and asking, then of course we're going to take a different position, and we're going to try to inform them differently and have a grace.
All right, guys, we got one more, but we're gonna let it go. We're past our time. I think the last one is probably the best one in my opinion, because it's the situation where the the guy's happy and the wife is mad and she's bitter because he's happy and she's not. So let me read it to you. Right, it says a bitter divorce couple after 20 years of marriage with 4 children, boys 17 and 10, girls 15 and 8. The mother is custodial parent and makes visitation very difficult, at times unbearable. Father remarried with two more children. He's happy. Mother is single with a few failed relationships. What advice would you give him? So you see what this is really about. We don't have to deal with it tonight. I think it might be a lot of twists and turns, but essentially she's not having a good way of this. He left her, obviously, they split up. He's married. She hasn't moved on, and she's pissed off, and she's really just trying to give him a hard time. If you got to give this guy, some advice on how to cope with this, in 2 seconds or 5 minutes, what would you say? Any of you, anybody that feel like they got an opinion on this?
Holmes, you got that one.
Man, that's a tough one, man.
Yeah, that's Bob. You're gonna have to table that one for enough.
Yeah,
that ain't no 2-second answer, man.
It's very difficult to deal with someone who's bitter.
Right.
And
she's bitter. There's no question that she is bitter.
That's an uphill battle, man, and it's going to take a lot of time for, and the worst part of this scenario is that, let me see, mother is single, she's single and you've gotten married and you've moved on,
and you got kids. You got 2 more kids now, and
you have 2 kids too.
You know what the Bible said about dealing with contentious women, man.
You're gonna have an uphill battle. I'll say that's the best way I can put it, and just be ready for it. You know what I mean? And I would tell him to live his life and drown out the noise. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while from my experience. A woman like that is not going to calm down until she gets somebody in her life. And with that, it's still going to, it's still not a guarantee that you'll have smooth sailing. So, but as long as she's single, from my experience, and you moved on and you're remarried and you have 2 children.
And you happy?
Brother, and you're happy, brother.
Now, who's coming to me for advice, Apostle? The happy husband or the miserable wife?
The happy husband. This is all about
He's coming to me for advice? Okay.
The happy husband?
The happy husband.
Bruh, put on your... Ready?
I believe that
learn to hear and not hear, and just deal with it, because that is going to be a rocky road, because you're talking about someone who is bitter, probably resentful, probably angry, you know what I mean? Probably jealous, and all those different things. And you have 2 children too, so now you're dealing with a certain level of rejection. It's there's a lot that can go into that becomes compounded. So I would tell him to knuckle up and put on his big boy pants and just deal with it, because that's not going to go away anytime in the foreseeable future, unless she gets a man in her life who she's serious about.
Okay, so I believe it's okay to be happy, right?
Yeah,
but I do believe that the man has to be careful how he channel that energy in front of her or around her. Not that he has to hide anything, because I think that as a man, you can go on with your life and you can be happy. but you're not throwing it in her face. You know, I got somebody, you don't. So I think it's real. He has to be real careful, especially if it's a delicate situation and you have kids by that person. Moving on from somebody that you don't have ties with is a little bit different. When you have some kids with somebody, because at the end of the day, somebody mentioned this earlier, it's all about co-parenting. And if you have this scenario and you have this problem, it might be difficult to be able to co-parent effectively, right? So as a man, it's okay to be happy. You don't have to hide your happiness, but I think that when you're around her, I think that maybe you have to be careful and not throwing that in the woman's face.
Yeah, you got to be respectfully happy,
right?
You know, and I always look at it from this point. At some point, even when it goes bad, that person was enough for you to love. That person was enough for you to marry. And so, I know there can be a lot of pits and valleys in the course of a relationship going bad, but I think you try to maintain a level of respect, even in moving on, even being happy. There's a respectful way that you can do it, because at some point, this person existed in your life in the same space as the person that you're happy with. And you thought they were going to be forever. And children came out of that. And I understand that things change and things are fluid. But, you can't ignore the fact that they existed in a space. And you can be respectfully happy and not disrespect the person that you moved on for. Now, they may not see it that way.
Right. It depends on the person, because again, and I have a lot of experiences, man. Sometimes it won't matter, man. You can try and be respectful. You can try and act like you're not happy. You're just okay. But if they know that you have a woman in your life and you have children, brother, you can put on your worst frown and they will still know you're happy.
Yeah. I think what you.
I'm just going to say this to make you laugh. I'm in that situation now, 30 years later.
Wow.
30 years, 30
you
years later.
You're respectfully happy, huh?
And so I just try to learn how to deal with it. And then when I don't have to deal with it, I just don't deal with it.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the and I see this from you're right. It's a complicated situation, but it's got to be a delicate balance, right? Because then you like you guys said, you can't ask the man to walk around like he's in denial that he's happy, right? He's just going on with his life, and he's spending time with his children. I think you guys nailed it, right? That's something you got to deal with. It's going to cost you something. Right?
I got to tell you this quick story.
Okay. Well, let me finish. It's gonna cost you something, right? So that happiness comes with a price tag, right?
Yes,
and that price tag, and that's kind of how you got to see it, right? You got to listen. There's no free lunch, right? There's no such thing as a free lunch. So relish in your happiness at home and what you got, and whenever you got to deal with that. And again, I think somebody said it. If you look at the ages, he's almost done, right? The 17-year-old can get to him when he wants. He didn't even got to deal with her. And the other three, this 15, eventually all this is going to go away. So I think you got to look at it. You don't have a whole lot of time. So just do your time, right? just do your time. And eventually you'll get past this. Go ahead, Pastor Holmes.
Sometime, man, it just, I had remarried and my daughters were young. They weren't that young. But I went down south to pick them up, and I went down there with the new wife, and when they saw that new wife, man, and I went to pick up my kids to bring them back up to New York for the summer.
Boy, you were great.
Man, they put up a fuss, called the cops, said I was kidnapping the kids, and I didn't have the court papers. And they said, Mr. Holmes, do you have your papers saying that you're? I said, no, I didn't bring them with me. I've never had this problem before. And then the officer looked at me. He said, do you know what the problem is?
Exactly.
He was pointing to the wife. Said, that's the problem. that
That's the problem.
I had to drive all the way back to New York without my kids, man.
Wow.
So it's a very difficult situation when you're dealing with someone who is bitter, who is angry, who is resentful, and all those different things. It don't matter, So, like you said, man, you got to do the time and deal with it. It's going back to the beginning of the conversation. It's consequence. There's consequences to having children out of wedlock, and there's consequences to divorce.
Yeah.
All the way around. And so sometimes you just got to deal with what is a result of that. Doesn't matter who is in the wrong or who is right. Everybody pays in some way, shape, or form.
All right, so guys, we're gonna let you go. We went longer than we thought, but we started later too. To be fair.
Yeah.
So let's last words. Anything, Pastor Holmes, you want to just end this out with?
No? Keeping me from my kids, man. That's all I'm saying. That ain't gonna happen, right?
Pastor,
this was good. This was really good. It was a really good discussion, and I'm glad that we got to see some of the ladies offer their comments, which were very powerful and needed. And so I'm hoping that we can continue this and dive even deeper, and maybe get into some of our experiences, and which will end on a positive note. But this was good, and I enjoyed myself.
Yeah, I like the input from the ladies. I mean, there's always two sides to every story, and they have a perspective as well. So it's I think I appreciate the fact that we're not on a woman basher tour.
Yeah.
As much as we are trying to find answers to the importance of fathers being present and the damage that results when they're not. And I like that type of discussion, especially in the community and in the church. When men are not present like they ought to be, it can be very damaging. So I appreciate you, Apostle, for tackling a very difficult subject, but necessary.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Pastor Brantley? You're muted.
You're muted, man.
I think everybody pretty much summed it up. Pretty much agree with what everybody said.
Okay. So yeah, I think this was good. I hate that we lost Facebook. I don't know what happened over there. Facebook's been bugging lately, but we'll try to get that resolved, because that's a bulk of our audience is on Facebook. I agree with you, all of you, with the women getting in. I wish that we could have more input. We want to kind of get them involved. And so what I want to do is we'll recap, but I want us to try to see what we can do to take this a little further. And I don't know, we'll kind of parse this out as to where it's going. It can go into relationships. It can go into husband and wife relationships, because I think that's the basis. And so we'll maybe come up with, how to talk, maybe how to find a wife, or what you look for, or, or whatever we can do. Because I think that these conversations are so helpful to a lot of men and women. And you'd be very surprised on how many men, you guys know, are dealing with these matters. And it might not be specifically this. It may be some difference, some modifications or adjustments, but at least we kind of give them an approach, a way to get it, kind of to deal with it, as well as having fun. I think that we got a good mix of brothers here who are lighthearted and not trying to prove a point always. But I think we got to continue this. I think it's helpful, and whatever subject you guys might want to bring up, things that. But this has got so much potential, because it's a subject that we don't hear people talking about, is the men. We don't hear men. We can't get men to do what we're doing. So what we're doing right now is very unique. And for all of us to be leaders and from different churches and experiences to come together and say, we could talk about this. And I don't know if you guys all knew each other, but some of we're meeting for the first time, right?
Yeah.
And I want to invite other men in too. Some other brothers, maybe some brothers that may have some good input. Just let us know. We'll bring them in and give them opportunity to share too. Because again, it's gonna take all of us. to
Yeah.
help build this. All right, gentlemen, have a good night. Thank you so
All
much
right.
for your time. I'm gonna try to put this on Facebook. What we lost up. We lost Facebook, but I'm gonna put the link in and the video in on so that people can see the rest of it. You guys are great, man. You guys had a lot of good input. Your wisdom is vast, and I think we got to share it more. So,
All right.
All
all right.
gentlemen.
Love you guys, and man, everybody be blessed.
All right. Likewise. Love you too, man. Peace.
All right.